Canada is staring at a crisis unlike anything we've seen in decades. Billions of dollars are evaporating from our economy, investors are on edge, and the energy lifeline that has kept this country running is now hanging by a thread. And at the center of it all stands Alberta, fuming, defiant, and ready to pull the plug on the rest of Canada. Tonight, I'm breaking down how Alberta's shocking threat to cut off energy supplies is shaking Ottawa to its core, why Prime Minister Mark Carney's government is scrambling behind closed doors, and how U.S. President Donald Trump is circling this chaos like a hawk, waiting to strike a deal that could change the balance of power forever. This isn't just another political squabble. What we're witnessing is a high-stakes game of economic chicken. Alberta, under Premier Danielle Smith, knows it controls the crown jewels of Canada's energy wealth: oil, gas, and pipelines that literally fuel the rest of the nation. And Smith isn't just talking tough. Behind the rhetoric are concrete plans, restricting shipments, rerouting supply south to the United States, and daring Ottawa to try and stop her. For Alberta, this is about respect, autonomy, and money. Trillions of dollars over time. For Carney, it's about survival, not just of his government, but of Canada itself. The numbers tell a brutal story. Billions in federal revenues are already evaporating as energy companies freeze investment, spooked by the uncertainty. Provinces dependent on Alberta's oil and gas are seeing costs rise, refineries run thin, and supply contracts teeter on collapse. Eastern Canada is bracing for winter fuel shortages if Alberta makes good on its threat. And globally, traders are watching Canadian crude like it's a geopolitical fault line. Because if Alberta really slams the brakes, prices could skyrocket. Mark Carney, once the world's most respected central banker, now finds himself cornered as prime minister. His vision of balancing green energy with economic stability is colliding with Alberta's raw demand for control. And the more Carney insists Ottawa calls the shots, the louder Danielle Smith pushes back, telling Albertans that Ottawa is siphoning their wealth while lecturing them on climate. The tension is no longer behind closed doors, it's public, raw, and dangerously close to snapping. And then there's Donald Trump. From Washington, the U.S. president sees an opportunity. He's offering Alberta sweetheart deals, pipelines direct to American refineries, guaranteed purchase agreements, and even the possibility of giving Alberta companies special tax incentives if they bypass Ottawa entirely. Imagine that, Canada's energy heartland tied closer to the United States than to its own federal government. Trump thrives in chaos, and Carney knows it. Every day Alberta inches closer to Washington, Ottawa loses leverage. What makes this moment so dangerous is that Alberta isn't bluffing. Premier Smith has built her political brand on defiance, and her supporters are demanding results. They see Alberta as the workhorse of Confederation, feeding billions into federal coffers while getting scolded and regulated in return. They've had enough, and Smith is channeling that anger into a weapon that Ottawa may not be able to disarm. If she closes the taps, even partially, the economic shockwaves would be immediate and devastating. Think about what that means for ordinary Canadians. Gas prices shooting through the roof, heating bills doubling, industries dependent on cheap energy grinding to a halt, trucking companies, airlines, and manufacturers all squeezed at once, the dollar sinking as investors flee. And meanwhile, Alberta pointing the finger straight at Ottawa saying, "This is your fault." Behind the scenes, sources say Ottawa is frantically working phones with provincial leaders, desperate to keep a united front. But unity is fracturing fast. Saskatchewan has signaled it might back Alberta's hardline stance. British Columbia, torn between its green agenda and economic reality, is wavering. And in Atlantic Canada, premiers are furious, accusing Carney of letting things spiral to the point where their own citizens could be left shivering in the cold. What makes this crisis even more gripping is the timing. Canada's economy is already shaky, growth is sluggish, debt is piling up, and inflation has left households drained. Carney built his reputation as a financial wizard, but right now his skills are being tested in ways no central bank ever prepared him for. He isn't just fighting inflation, he's fighting Alberta's open rebellion, Trump's opportunism, and the possibility that the Canadian Federation itself could fracture under the weight of energy politics. Danielle Smith knows this. Every statement she makes feels like a calculated escalation, designed to keep Ottawa off balance. She talks about fair treatment, but behind those words is a simple threat. Give Alberta more control, or watch the country burn economically. And in a province where separatist sentiment has always lingered just beneath the surface, the idea of walking away from Ottawa doesn't sound so far-fetched anymore. And here's the kicker. Alberta isn't just holding energy hostage, it's winning the court of public opinion in the West. Polls show that a growing number of Albertans believe Smith's hardline tactics are justified. They don't see Carney as a leader who understands them. They see him as another central Canadian elite dictating terms. The anger is real, and it's spreading. But let's take a step back and ask ourselves, what does this mean beyond Canada's borders? Because make no mistake, Alberta's energy isn't just a Canadian issue, it's global. Our oil sands, our natural gas, and our pipelines feed into the world economy. If Alberta shuts the door, it's not just Ottawa that suffers. Europe, already nervous about energy security, is watching closely. Asian markets, dependent on stable oil prices, are holding their breath. And in Washington, Trump knows he can present himself as the savior, offering Alberta a lifeline while telling the world that America, not Canada, is the reliable supplier. Now imagine the ripple effect. Energy companies that have invested billions in Canadian projects might start pulling back, shifting their money to Texas or North Dakota. Pension funds tied to Canadian energy stocks could lose billions overnight. The Toronto Stock Exchange, already volatile, could face a sell-off that shakes the retirement savings of millions of Canadians. It's not just politics, it's the money in your pocket, the gas in your tank, the heat in your home. And let's not forget, Alberta isn't powerless here. They can choke supply not only through direct cuts, but also through slowdowns, delays in permits, restrictions on transport, even bureaucratic choke points. Every delay costs billions. Every slowdown sends another shiver through the financial markets. It's death by 1,000 cuts, and Ottawa knows it. Meanwhile, Canadians on the ground are bracing for the fallout. Families already struggling with high grocery bills are terrified of what's coming. What happens when fuel prices double? When flights get canceled because airlines can't secure supply? When truckers park their rigs because diesel is too expensive to run? This isn't just about Alberta versus Ottawa anymore. It's about whether ordinary Canadians can afford to live through this crisis. And here's where the story twists even further. Some insiders believe Danielle Smith's endgame isn't just energy leverage, it's constitutional reform. By pushing Ottawa to the breaking point, she might force a national reckoning on how Confederation works. Alberta doesn't just want more money, it wants more power, more independence, and maybe even a path towards standing shoulder to shoulder with the United States rather than bowing to Ottawa. If that's true, then this isn't simply a bargaining tactic, it's the opening move in something far bigger. Now you might ask, where does this all end? Does Carney cave, offering Alberta more autonomy over its resources, perhaps even a new deal on revenue sharing? Does Trump swoop in, signing energy deals that lock Alberta into America's orbit? Or does Smith push so far that Ottawa retaliates, plunging Canada into a constitutional and economic showdown unlike anything in our history? No one has that answer right now. But one thing is clear, Canada is bleeding billions, investors are fleeing, and every passing day makes this standoff harder to reverse. If Alberta cuts supply, even briefly, the shock will be global. And if Carney doesn't find a way to defuse this crisis soon, the very idea of a united Canada could be up for grabs. This isn't just about oil. It's about power, sovereignty, and survival. Alberta has shown it's willing to play hardball. Ottawa is scrambling to hold the country together, and Washington is standing by, ready to exploit the fallout. We are watching history unfold in real time, and the choices made in the coming weeks could define Canada's future for a generation. So stay tuned, because this fight is far from over. The cracks in Confederation are widening, and the energy war between Alberta and Ottawa is only just beginning. And if you want to keep up with every twist and turn in this story, the leaks, the deals, the power plays, make sure you're subscribed right here, because what comes next could change Canada forever.